The 2-1. Lindor towards right center field. This one is back. It is gone! Grand slam! And Lindor puts the Mets on top. The biggest swing of the season for New York.
3-second differential. Shot clock, game clock. Shot clock down to 5. Here's Towns from 3. It's gone! Carl Anthony Towns with the dagger. 3-point field goal.
Knicks regain their composure. Towns, deep 3-ball with the twist.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? What is going on? It is your boy David from Top Bunk Sports, and I am here with another Mets series recap. And today we're gonna jump forward a little bit. I know the last series recap that I did was the very first series of the season, which was against the Houston Astros. And I know after that we flew to play 3 games against the Miami Marlins. But I said, you know what? I know a lot of people were kind of, yeah, I was very busy that entire series. I did watch all 3 games, but I was very busy. So I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna get to that series. But what I will do is get on the opening week series where we open up City Field and we play the Blue Jays for 3 games, which is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, April 4th through April 6th. So, I took some time to kind of get on the video, obviously, with a lot of things going on. Like I said, I've been very busy. So I just, I took some time, but I'm here. So when these videos do come out, they will come out a little bit later. But I am here. We will recap it. I was there for all 3 games. So after this video is done, I will upload some videos from the live game just to kind of show you guys and stuff like that. For those of you that do follow me at Top Bunk Sports, you've already seen some of the videos, so you kind of, get the gist of everything. But yeah, man. Let's get straight into it, man. It was a beautiful night, a beautiful day, excuse me, at City Field. It was a little gloomy, the skies it was a bit cloudy, but it didn't rain. It didn't rain. The game went through perfectly, no interruptions, none of that. So that's a good thing. The Mets got right to it. The Mets got right to it. It was a bit of what we needed. We were wondering when this team was gonna explode offensively on a consistent basis. You go into Houston, you only scored 3 runs twice, and then you managed to lose. Uh, you only scored 1 run. Excuse me. You scored 3 runs the second game, and then you only score 1 run again in the third game, and you lose game 1 and game 3, and you lose that series. So you're coming in home. You're coming into an exciting and a big, a big pumped up series where you're home and you're playing a team that came into this series in first place. They had a 5-2 record when they came into this series, and the Mets put it on them. Scoring 5 runs. They left them, 5-0, and it started with one guy that, again, I think if he needed to start, if it needed to start from somebody, it needed to start from somebody that was from here. And then when I say from here, I mean homegrown. Alonso's not from New York; he's from Florida. But it needed to be from a guy that started his career here, that started, everything within the Mets, and with everything going on with his free agency and how everything played out. You needed to start that way. And I think and again, the Mets started that way in the best way possible, and we got to we got to see this. It was beautiful.
Baseball at LSU. 1-2 to Alonso, and he lifts one out to right field, chasing Rodin back to the warning track, and it's out of here! Pete Alonso goes the other way for a 2-run homer. Just a little half swing, and he hits it out to the other field. His 3rd home run of the year, and the Mets jump out to a 2-0 lead.
It's hard to pitch.
That again, it was awesome. Shout out to Pete Alonso for that, man. That was beautiful. Pete Alonso again has shown that when it comes to it being in the big moments, being at a very pressured moment, he's there to deliver. He's there to deliver. He takes care of business, and you got to give him credit. I think it was very fitting that he was the one that goes through the contract negotiations. You hear what comes out, and he signs with us. He signs back with us for the deal that he did. Um, Now, obviously, he didn't get what he wanted, but he stayed and he signed, and thank God that he's here. And he came up and he took care of business. He took care of business. He was going. He was already red hot. I mean, excuse me, we'll get into that, but he was already red hot. So him getting that home run in, I think was like, yeah, this is what storybooks are about. And this is what you wanted to see. So the Mets, obviously, like I said, scored 5 runs. It started with Alonso and that 2-run homer going the other way. Lindor was on base. Soto drove him in, and then in the 6th inning, Nimmo also doubled, brought Soto in. Um, Moved Alonso, who was on base as well, to third, and then Marte hit a sacrifice fly to score Alonso from third. And those 3 runs happened in the 6th inning. That would be all she wrote within that game, and the Mets would go on to win 5-0. And your starter for that game was Tyler McGill, and I really gotta give a lot of flowers to Tyler McGill. In this game, he pitched 5.1 innings, only allowed 2 hits. He had the Blue Jays quiet, 0 earned runs, had 4 strikeouts, and gave up 3 walks. But he had the Blue Jays quiet. I really, really, really liked the way he pitched that game. Obviously, for those of you that follow me on Queens Baseball, and for those of you that shout out to Queens Baseball, by the way. Shout out to Keith from Sharon Sons. Shout out to Rube. Shout out to Josh, the accountant. Rube the Pope. By the way, I ain't trying to mess your name up. Rube the Pope. Um, Shout out to Tank. Everybody in Queens Baseball, man. Yeah, they do an incredible job, and they obviously are family to me. We built such an incredible community, and again, it's more than friends. We've built this relationship that has turned into family. So again, shout out to Queens Baseball. But for those of you that have followed my take on the Mets and my content on the Mets, you know, when it comes to certain guys that really haven't succeeded on a consistent basis here, I've always said, listen, they're gonna give them an opportunity. But until they turn it around and they show me what they're made of, I don't care. I don't care. I really don't care. So, you go into this situation where, you know, Tyler McGill, they're giving him another opportunity, and he hasn't squandered it. He hasn't squandered it. He got the win in game 2 against Houston. He comes in here, he does what he needs to do, and again, a pressure game like opening day, you wonder how is Tyler McGill going to flag out. And again, he pitched his tail off. He pitched his tail off. And it's when you have guys that are pitching their tail off, and you got guys you got an offense that's playing the right way, it gives a lot of confidence to the pitcher, because now the pitcher knows that, I'm playing behind guys that are playing well, and we're all playing together. I mean, his fastball was on point. Um, I would say he kind of struggled with the walks a little, even though he gave up 3 walks. Those are like the negatives that I could say within Tyler McGill, because his first 2 starts, there's not really nothing you can say about him. Really nothing you can say about him. So he comes in, he takes care of the business, has the Blue Jays quiet, and he earns himself a 5-0 win. So shout out to Tyler McGill for that, because that's a big one. On to game 2, where game 2 was more of a dreadful game, because the offense really wasn't there, and it was raining. Like I said, it was gloomy, like Friday was, but Friday was more of a day game, and it wasn't really raining like that. It was raining on Saturday. It was super cold. Uh, Again, it was raining beforehand, so you were already dealing with that, but it was super cold, and again, one of those things where you were waiting for the offense to come out. The offense really didn't come out up until, I would say, the 5th inning, and it started with the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays got on board first. Griffin Canning was pitching that game. He had a solid outing, a solid outing. You can't say nothing about him in terms of what he was able to provide. That brother pitched his ass off. And before I get into the gist of the game within the offense, I do want to talk about him because that was a guy that when we first signed him, we didn't know where that was gonna go. He had a 6-13 record and ERA was at the fives. You know what I'm saying? So the funny thing is last year when he pitched against us for the Angels in the third game of the series. I remember that. I think the Angel series was like the first series that we had coming out of All-Star break last year. And we lost that game. I think we lost that game by 1 run. And he pitched against us and he had like 8 strikeouts against us and he was killing us with his changeup. I specifically remember that because I went into that game thinking the Mets should kill this guy based off his stats. And I was wrong. I was wrong. So, getting him, people kind of judged him based off his stats. And I did. I did. For a little bit though. Because when we signed him, I remember people telling me, look at his record. He's not really that good of a pitcher. And I was telling people, I was like, listen, I know his record is what it is. I know his numbers are it is what it is. But he's an innings eater. And if there's one thing that you know about David Stearns is he loves inning eaters. Why? Because those are guys that can go long. Those are guys that could probably give you 6 to 7 innings on a nightly basis. And we haven't seen it just yet from any of our starters yet, but again, these are guys that can push. These are guys that can go ahead. Yes, they're gonna give up a couple walks, they're gonna give up a couple hits, maybe not. Maybe they have one of those games where like McGill only giving up 2 hits, right? 3 walks. They're gonna have those nights, but these are guys that don't get flustered and that can go. So Griffin Canning, right, in his first game at Citi Field, coming in after what he did against the Astros, right? Because even though we lost that game, he only gave up 1 run and he shoved. He shoved. We were very impressed with what Griffin Canning did in that third game against the Astros that he started. So Griffin Canning went 4 innings. Obviously, he kind of struggled a little bit trying to go deep. He was at a high pitch count, right? But he went 4 innings, gave up 4 hits, only allowed 1 run, and that 1 run was earned, right? Gave up 3 walks, but had 6 strikeouts. He kept Toronto in their momentum. He did. He 100% kept Toronto. He kept the game. He kept the Mets in the game. He kept the Mets close. And again, for a starter that struggles like that, or that struggled last year the way he did, you got to tip your cap. You got to tip your cap because this is a whole different picture than what it was last year when he was with the Los Angeles Angels. So, shout out to him. Obviously, he didn't get the win, but you want to be able to see promise from your starting pitchers so that way hey, we're able to we know what this guy can do and we know that he can be trusted. But in terms of the offense, that was basically the gist of the game. Obviously, like I said, it was basically 0-0 up until the fifth. They had a man on base. Vladimir Guerrero, who again from one Dominican to another, shout out to him, who he recently got extended after the Blue Jay series, for 14 years, $500 million contract with no deferrals, no opt outs. That's a straight up contract with a $325 million signing bonus. This brother got paid, paid. I'm talking like literally he got paid. So, shout out to him. Again, he got a nice ovation. Excuse me. He got a nice ovation on opening day when they were doing the introduction for a Blue Jays lineup. So shout out to him. That Mets fans knew what they were doing. Mets fans knew what they were doing with him when they gave him that ovation. Shout out to my guy Master Flip. But he got his money, and he obviously started the momentum for the Blue Jays. When he hit a single, he scored two. He scored one. Excuse me. Bouchette moved Bouchette to second. Then uh, 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 Bichette came. Sorry, excuse me. That first one came in the fifth, and then the second one came in the sixth. Bichette came in and doubled where Roden scored, and it made it 2-0. But then after that, we got a monster game by Jesse Winker, and Jesse Winker basically started the momentum, and it was in the eighth inning. It was in the eighth inning when you were wondering at what more do these guys have left to try to score, try to start a momentum. It was started by Jesse Winker. Now Jesse Winker in his last two at bats had a double and a triple. So with Lindor starting off that eighth inning with the walk, and then obviously Juan Soto getting a base hit, you had Alonso get an out, right? And you had Mark Vientos get out to where Jesse Winker came up and Jesse Winker hits a triple. Now I thought that triple was gone. I thought that ball was gone. Excuse me. The way he hit it, I thought with the gate kind of more in because of the Cadillac Club, right? And it has the netting at the top. I thought that ball was gone, but because it was so much wind and the wind was blowing, it was blowing in. Uh, the ball was able to kind of stay in, and it looked like George Springer, who was playing right field, kind of had that ball tracked up until he hit the wall, and it looked like he had it in his glove, and then it came out, and it allowed Lindor and Soto to score, and Jesse Winker was able to get his second triple of the game and tie the game 2-2. And then we get into the ninth inning, and when we get to the bottom of the ninth inning, right, because they weren't able to cash in Jesse Winker at third, and mind you, we had two outs when Jesse Winker hit that triple, so they weren't able to sacrifice Lindor in for the lead. We get out the Edwin Diaz gets out the top of the ninth inning. We get into the bottom of the ninth inning. We had Siri to pitch run, and he stole the bag, and when he stole the bag, uh, I forgot who moved him to third, excuse me, but I know that Francisco Lindor came up and Hayden Singer, excuse me, Hayden Singer advanced him from second base to third, and when Lindor came up, and we had one out. Lindor came up and hit a sac fly to center, scored Siri in at home, and the Mets walk. Francisco Lindor walks the Mets off, and the Mets win by a score of 3-2. Edwin Diaz gets your win. So first two games, obviously the Mets first game showed some power and showed some consistent hitting. And then the second game, obviously, the scoring was dreadful up until the eighth inning, where Jesse Winker had himself a game, and Francisco Lindor was able to cap it off with a sacrifice fly for the walk-off win, and we secured the series. And now we were just waiting for Game Three, where we were looking at Game Three as a possible sweep. Now, going to Game Three in terms of momentum was absolutely horrible. Right, better weather. It was chilly, but it was a better weather, but the offense was dead. The offense was dead. And I think people not only cared about how the offense looked, but they were waiting for Juan Soto to explode. They were waiting for Juan Soto to kind of just, if is Juan Soto going to do anything? Now, obviously, Juan Soto's been hitting the baseball, but in terms of explosion for Juan Soto, we haven't really seen that yet, right? So, still waiting on that. Still waiting on that. We still have, like I said, we haven't seen it, so we're still waiting on that. But you gotta be impressed with what what this pitching staff for the Mets has been able to do, because the reason that the Mets have been able to stay in these games and win by a close score is because the Mets bullpen has been absolutely dominant and absolutely clutch. You really got, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back from the first game of, because we could go back to the Houston series. We could go back to the Marlins series, even though I said that, I'm gonna skip that one, right? But we could go back to both of those series, but I'm gonna just tell you how, from what they did all three games of this series. We go back to the first game, right? We go back to the first game, and let's look at the pitching staff for the Mets, and this is including the starting pitchers as well, right? So for the first game, obviously Tyler McGill, got was a starter, but you had Reed Garrett after him, then AJ Minter, then Max Kranich, right? They all went altogether 9 innings, right? Allowed 4 hits. This is the first game, right, where we won 5-0. Allowed 4 hits, 0 runs, 0 earned runs, only allowed 3 walks, and had 10 strikeouts. So they were already on a high momentum based off what they did to keep the Mets in these games from the Houston series and from the Marlins series in Miami, right? Then let's go to game two. Let's go to game two, right? Which I already covered, but let's go to game two, right? Including the starting pitcher who was Griffin Canning, right? They allowed 10 hits, so obviously they allowed a little bit more hits, right? They allowed 2 runs, which was all from Griffin Canning. So if you eliminate Griffin Canning, the rest of the bullpen, who was Jose Budo, Horacio Barazabon, and Edwin Diaz, they didn't allow a single hit. I mean, they didn't allow a single run, right? 4 walks, with 3 of them coming from Griffin Canning and only one coming from Jose Budo, but 11 strikeouts. 11 strikeouts. You had 1 strikeout from Jose Budo, 6 strikeouts from Griffin Canning, right? That we spoke about before, but 1 strikeout from Jose Budo, 1 strikeout from Horacio Barazabon, and then 3 strikeouts from Edwin Diaz that again ended that he collected in the ninth inning to send these guys to the bottom of the ninth. So you already had that. So again, more dominant pitching from the Mets and their bullpen. Then we go to game three, right? We go to game three. Got you right now. We go to game three, and we had David Peterson starting off, right? David Peterson went 4.2 innings, allowed 3 hits, allowed only one run, which was also earned. Gave up 5 walks, was dealing with a little bit of an issue with the walks, had 3 strikeouts, but he kept the Mets in the game, which is what the starting rotation and his bullpen has been doing all year so far, right? The guys that came after him, Max Kranich, again, you're gonna hear him a lot. He's been clutch. He has been absolutely clutch. Reed Garrett right after that, AJ Minter right after that, and Edwin Diaz for the save. So far, including David Peterson, in this game, allowed 4 hits, 1 run, which was obviously David Peterson, had 5 walks, which is obviously David Peterson, and 8 strikeouts. 3 coming from Peterson, 1 coming from Kranich, 1 coming from Gary, 2 coming from Minter, and 1 coming from Edwin Diaz. Guys, this rotation, this whole pitching rotation, this whole pitching staff has been lights out. And the funny thing is, we spoke higher about the bullpen than we did about the starting rotation. We were kind of iffy about this starting rotation, even though we got Shamanaya back. We have Paul Blackburn. We knew what we were getting with Griffin Canning in terms of just him being here. Tyler McGill, we were already scratching our heads about that. We were excited about David Peterson. I think Shamanaya and David Peterson were the only two that we were like, okay, we're excited to see what a second year with them, after a successful season the previous year brought them. So those are the only two that we were kind of like, okay. The rest we were like, like we didn't know. We weren't that high up on them. The bullpen got a lot of praise because the guys that they brought in and what some of the guys that were already here showed us. And then you bring in a setup man like AJ Minter, who's a dominant lefty, right? Max Kranich did what he did in spring training. You're like, yo, this guy really had. We were expecting Max Kranich to make the opening day roster, and so far Mendy has put him in big time situations, and he's been big. He's been clutch. I can't deny that from the kid. So again, this rotation really, 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 really has proven that they can definitely be something of a like a gem, like of a piece, man. There's really nothing that I can say that can honestly tell me like, yo, this is honestly what we've expected. I mean, like I didn't, we expected big things, but in terms of the dominance that they've shown, yo, we're really impressed. And you can only go by the games that have been played. I know certain people are like, hey, listen, the bullpen is da da da, whatever. The bullpen has to be, it's gonna fluster. Yeah, that's every bullpen. You're gonna have games where they're gonna fluster, but collectively, if they stick to what they are, and they stick to the success that they've been showing, this bullpen is going to be the talk of the year because we have high expectations for this offense. We know what this offense can do. I'll get into this Miami series, especially in the last game, and we know what they can do. We know what they can do. So let's get into the rest uh of um of game three. The scoring obviously didn't come up until the third. Pete Alonso, who's been red hot, I'll talk about him. Pete Alonso has been red hot. He singled. Senger and Soto were on base. He scored a hiding Singer from second to home, and that made it 1-0. Then obviously, uh, when he scored Singer to home, he obviously had Soto. Keep saying obviously, but Soto went from first to third, and then Brendan Inwood comes right behind him and hits a sacrifice fly to left field and brings Soto home and to up to nothing. Right. The game was like that the entire way. 2 innings later, uh, David Peterson loads up the bases, and it looked like when he loaded up the bases, it looked like he was hurt, when it really wasn't that. He wasn't hurt. He obviously had, his stomach was bothering him, and it looked like after his stomach was bothering him, Mendy should have taken him out. Mendy got a lot of flack for that. And certain pitchers are gonna tell you like, listen, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. You as a coach, you as a manager, you gotta know the better judgment in that situation because anything that you do, whether it's decision making, whether it's uh, moves that you're making mid game, it can affect the game no matter if it's a negative or if it's a positive. So leaving him in there, knowing that he's already telling you that he's not feeling well in terms of he's not hurt, he's not injured, he's just not feeling well. He said it after the game. His stomach wasn't agreeing with him. So I would have taken him out. He already ha- has two men on has bases loaded. I would have taken him out, just put a fresh arm. Guess Mendy said, "You know what? If you're good, you're good. I'll keep you in there. Try to get out of this situation." And the first thing that he does is hits Andres Jimenez and walks in and walks in a run, walks in a run. So it's already 2-1, and the game would basically go like that for the rest of the way. David Peterson, after he hit Jimenez to score in that run from third, Mendy obviously came out after that and took him out. And again, it was he only went 4 innings, like I said, right? But you got to be impressed with him being able to keep the Mets in that situation at all times, and just thank God that if he had to screw up in that inning before Mendy took him out, it was a hit by pitch instead of a regular hit where the Blue Jays could have taken the lead with bases loaded. So again, he only went 4 innings. Max Kranick obviously came in right after that and was lights out. He got the win. Uh, he obviously went 1.1 inning, gave up 0 hits, 0 earned runs, had 1 strikeouts, and he gave up 0 walks. Like he was dominant. He got the win, and the game would go like that the entire way. Edwin Diaz would come in, get the save, and your Mets would sweep the Blue Jays, and would win Game Three by a score of 2-1. So a lot to talk about there. Um, it- Game one was all Mets offensively, and then obviously a stellar pitching performance by Tyler McGill, which was much needed, and I think he wanted that for himself. I think it's like validation for a lot of things, especially because he struggled last year. But then game two and game three was a low scoring game. Was the offense really didn't have it. It was mostly the pitching that kept them in both games. And listen, the Mets were able to really keep themselves close and take care of the series and sweep the Blue Jays, and really start off big. With that sweep, they pushed their record to 6-3, and it's a really 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 good start. it gets Mets fans hyped because of the expectations that we have. It's World Series expectations, and it's not like last year where we started 0-5 and we didn't know where the momentum was going. So uh, the Mets sweep the Blue Jays. Obviously, like I said before, it was needed. And going into this Miami series, Miami's coming here. You took 2 out of 3 from Miami, but now you're looking to really, really put the hammer down and take care of business, man. This is what you need to do. This is a gimme series before you go on to this 6-game road trip starting in Sacramento. But that is your Mets series recap opening week. It was super fun. I got a lot of clips coming for you within this video. So just stay tuned. And once you see this video, you'll see some of the clips. And yeah, man, the Mets take care of business opening week. They beat the Blue Jays and they sweep the Blue Jays 3 games straight. You will see another series recap within the Miami Marlins, which is the next series. So be on the lookout for that. Also, be on the lookout for more content, not only from Top Bunk Sports within the Mets and their series, information and news, but also with the Knicks. Shout out to my Knicks people. With the season kind of wrapping up and then going into the playoffs, there will be a lot of playoff content coming your way. Now I do have a couple Knicks Twitter guests lined up to join the show. So be on the lookout for that. But with that being said, is your guy David from Top Bunk Sports, and I will check you guys on the next video. Peace.
Feels so good to be home, man. Look at that beauty. Home opener. We here, man. We here. Feels good to be home. Let's go, Mets.
Baseball at LSU. 1-2 to Alonso, and he lifts one out to right field, chasing Rodin back to the warning track, and it's out of here! Pete Alonso goes the other way for a 2-run homer. Just a little half swing, and he hits it out to the other field. His 3rd home run of the year, and the Mets jump out to a 2-0 lead.
It's hard to pitch if you cannot get away with this pitch on Alonso.
Two coming. Swing and a miss. Went right back to the splitter. Struck him out. Got him with a splitter. Back-to-back strikeouts for Reed Garrett to strand a couple in the 6th. Soto at second. Alonso at first. And he drives one down the right field line. That's going to go to the wall. Soto around third. He will score. Alonso will be held at third. Brandon Nimmo with an RBI double to make it 4-0 New York. Giving up the long ball. And that's driven to center field. That'll get a run in. Springer makes the catch. Coming down the line is Alonso. The throw goes toward third. And it's 5-0 New York. Sacrifice fly for Starling Marte. And the Mets have scored 3 times here in the 6th inning.
Figure out a way.
And Lindor shoots one the other way down the left field line for a base hit. Tiptoeing toward the ball is Rodin, so Lindor will go to second, and he's standing with another leadoff double. Second straight day that Lindor has started the 1st inning by doubling the other way.
understand the at-bat. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Go three! Go three! Go three! Let's go! Justin! Woo-hoo-hoo! Woo! Let's go! Sack. Go. Game over. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
He hits it hard, past the diving Bichette into left center. Singer being waved around third. He'll score the first run of the game. Soto goes to third. Pete Alonso with an RBI, his 11th of the season. And the now here's Nimmo. And he socks one out to left field. Over toward the line comes Schneider, tagging third Soto. He'll trot down the line to score as the throw goes to second. Nimmo with a sacrifice flying. It's 2-0 New York.
That's a two-bagger. Let's go. Attaboy. Sweep it up! Sweep it up!